Let's bring in on that Republican Louisiana Senator John Kennedy. He serves on several committees, including the Judiciary Committee. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. I want to immediately get your thoughts on this, as we've got this brand new sound from President Trump, who is sitting down with Rachel Campos Duffy at 4 o'clock Eastern time on the Fox Spanish channel. And he said this on that. Listen.
Could we use it for violent criminals, our own violent criminals?
I call them homegrown criminals.
Yes.
I mean, the
homegrowns.
The ones that grew up and something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat. We have, and push people into subways just before the train gets there, like you see happening sometimes. We are looking into it and we want to do it. I would love to do that.
Well, Senator Kennedy, you are a smart legal mind. Do you have any problem with that?
No, none. I think the president's right. If you're in our country illegally, you're a criminal. Illegal immigration is illegal, duh. And I think there are plenty of laws which President Biden ignored that allow us to deport you. I mean, to me, it's just straightforward. And people who oppose that approach, it seems to me, are not being intellectually honest. They just ought to go ahead and admit they support open borders.
Senator, I want to get your reaction to this federal judge in Boston, her ruling on this controversial mass parole program here. Call for number 2. These are the numbers. So more than 500,000 migrants from these 4 countries were flown into the U.S. under President Biden. He essentially used his executive authority, waved the magic wand, and allowed all these people to come into the country. Now, President Trump comes into office. He tries to use that exact same executive authority to take their parole grants away, and a judge is saying no. Your thoughts?
Well, the judge is wrong. He or she obviously doesn't know a law book from a J. Crew catalog. I believe this judge issued a national injunction. In my judgment, those are illegal. A national injunction is when 2 parties go to court, plaintiff and defendant, and the federal judge issues a ruling, but it doesn't just apply to those 2 parties in court. It applies to the whole country. Now, there's no basis in statutory law for that. There's no basis in Supreme Court precedent for that. There's no basis in English common law for that, on which our justice system is based. The Supreme Court could fix it, and I hope it does quickly. We have a bill in Congress proposed in the Senate by Senator Grassley to make it very clear that national injunctions are an abuse of authority. It's a fairly new phenomenon. Federal judges didn't do this for most of the 20th century. There were only 27 national injunctions, but it started under in the 21st century. 67% of the national injunctions that have been issued against President Trump, and none of the judges have explained why all of a sudden they got up one morning and ate their judge's breakfast and went to the courthouse and started using national injunctions on which there's no basis, with respect to which there's no basis on Article 3 of the Constitution.
Okay, so Senator, could I circle back there to what we heard from the president? And I heard you say if they're here illegally. I think the point that he's being challenged on, and is likely to come up in the White House press briefing room there, is whether or not you agree with the president's suggestion of sending U.S.-born, U.S. citizens accused and who have committed crimes to notorious prisons like the one in El Salvador.
You mean sending them to foreign countries?
Yes.
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to another big topic that's going to come up with the White House press briefing room, and that is going to be China. And the heat is definitely turning up on tariffs. This is the Treasury Secretary, Senator, on working to get the first trade deal through. This was a Bloomberg podcast yesterday. Listen.
I think there will be advantage to our allies, especially, and a first mover advantage. Usually the first person who makes the deal gets the best deal. So
who do you think will be first?
It's their choice.
So your thoughts on where this goes next and how important it is to get that deal through?
It's undeniable that many foreign countries have used trade barriers, tariffs, to take advantage of the American people and cost us jobs. President Trump has called their hand. He has raised our tariffs and said, I want reciprocal tariffs. If you raise yours, I'll raise mine. But if you, foreign country, will lower yours, I will lower ours. It's called a reciprocal tariff, and I agree with it. It's also undeniable, in my opinion, that none of these foreign countries would be coming to the table but for what President Trump did. Now, the narrative among some members of the legacy media is that President Trump has, how can I put it, he's gone disco and he doesn't really have a rationale or a plan because he's not talking about it. I don't have any inside knowledge, but I believe that he's not talking about it because he's in the middle of negotiations. The worst actor is China. We, with our help, China was admitted to the WTO, the World Trade Organization, on December 11th, 2001. China started cheating December the 12th. And we need, figuratively speaking, we need to call their hand and slap them to Pluto until they start abiding by fair trading rules. Mm-hmm. It won't be easy, but China will ultimately have no choice. China's economy is on a journey to the center of the earth. They buy 5 times more stuff, we buy 5 times more stuff from them than they sell to us, and they're an export economy, so they're going to have to come to the table at some point.
All right, Senator, we always appreciate your time there, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. This is likely, Bill, going to be a huge topic in that White House press briefing room.